Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we try to untangle the confusing world of corporate filings. And today it looks like we have a doozy on our hands. A company called Blue Gold Limited is putting out a massive prospectus, and it's packed with enough jargon and cautionary notes to make your head spin. So what exactly are they trying to do here? And more importantly, what does it mean for investors? Let's dive in. This is a post-effective amendment to Form F-1, a registration statement for Blue Gold Limited. Alright, so the main event here is that this company, Blue Gold Limited, is looking to sell a whole bunch of ordinary shares, up to 11.5 million of them. To be exact, these shares aren't brand new. They're actually tied to some warrants that are already out there. Think of it like this: people bought warrants to buy shares at a certain price. And now for those warrants that were exercised, this filing tells us about the shares. So some folks bought these warrants a while back and now they're cashing them in to get the actual shares. This means Blue Gold Limited expects to get a good chunk of money from these warrant exercises. A whopping $132.3 million, assuming everyone exercises their warrants. But it is not just about new shares from warrant exercises. They also have a secondary offering, meaning some existing shareholders want to sell their shares up to another 15.4 million shares. That is a lot of stock hitting the market, and here is a crucial point: Blue Gold Limited itself will not receive any money from these sales by the selling shareholders. They're just making it possible for these shareholders to sell their existing shares. Let's rewind a bit about how Blue Gold Limited came to be on the 25th of June 2025. They completed a business combination with a company called Perception Capital Corp I4. This sounds like a SPAC, or a special purpose acquisition company deal, which is basically a way for private companies to go public through a merger. It involves a whole bunch of legal maneuvering with mergers and acquisitions and restructuring entities, which is typical for these kinds of deals. Good news for those who like to track stocks: Blue Gold Limited's ordinary shares are traded on the Nasdaq Global Market under the ticker symbol BGL. Their warrants trade under BGLW. Now let's talk about what could go wrong, because this is a prospectus. There is a whole section dedicated to risks, and they make it very clear investing in these shares has its dangers, which they detail starting on page 12. They've even flagged themselves as an emerging growth company, which means they get to follow some slightly relaxed reporting rules for a while. So what does Blue Gold Limited actually do? Well, the parent company is based in the Cayman Islands, but its main operations are through its subsidiary Blue Gold Holdings Limited, or BGHL, which is in the UK. BGHL is all about acquiring, developing, financing, licensing, and operating gold mines. Their initial focus is on the Ashanti Gold Belt in Ghana. Remember that emerging growth company status. That means they can present less financial data than other companies, which can sometimes make it harder for investors to get the full picture. Let's get into the nitty-gritty of their operations. In January 2024, they signed an agreement to acquire mining leases for the Bogoso Presti gold mine in Ghana. This mine has been suspended and will need significant money to get running again. They need several key licenses, like an environmental permit and a mine operating permit. This is where things get spicy. In September 2024, the previous leaseholder of the Bogoso Presti mine received a notice of termination of their mining leases from the Ghanaian Minerals Commission. The company and the previous leaseholder dispute this and have even started international arbitration proceedings. This legal battle is a major risk factor. If it goes badly, it could wipe out the value of BGL's business. Now for the financial snapshot, the summary shows that as of the 31st of December 2024, they had a working capital deficit, and their financial condition raises substantial doubt about their ability to continue as a going concern. This is a big red flag, meaning the company might struggle to stay afloat without more funding. Looking at the expenses for the year ended the 31st of December 2024, they spent a total of $11.1 million on operating expenses. A significant portion of this was plant maintenance costs at $6.2 million. This makes sense if they are trying to maintain a suspended mine. As of the 31st of December 2024, their total assets were reported at about $33.4 million. That is a pretty small number for a company aiming to operate mines. They also list failure to manage growth effectively as a key risk. This is a generic risk, but it is amplified here because they are an exploration stage company, meaning they are still in the early phases of developing their business. As if the mining risks and legal battles weren't enough, they point out that the price of their ordinary shares can fluctuate a lot. This volatility can be tough for investors. Let's circle back to the shares being issued for the offering itself. We're looking at up to 11.5 million ordinary shares from those warrants being exercised. Remember, this is the primary offering where the company gets money. If all those warrants are exercised and all these shares are issued, the company will have around 42.6 million shares outstanding. This is important for understanding potential dilution. And after the selling shareholders sell their shares, that number stays the same for now. showing that those shares are already out there. Back to the Nasdaq listing symbol. BGL is what you'll be looking for. Now, let's look at the numbers. The core financial data shows a consistent net loss across different periods. For the year ended the 31st of December 2024, they reported a net loss of $11.6 million. And for the first 6 months of 2025, that loss continued at $7.8 million. That is a pretty consistent trend of losing money. Interestingly, the weighted average number of shares outstanding for the year ended the 31st of December 2024 is over 102 million shares. This is a lot of shares compared to their very small asset base, and their total assets at the end of 2024 were only $33.4 million. That is a huge disconnect between the number of shares and the actual company assets. Even more concerning is that their total liabilities at the end of 2024 were around $41.7 million. They owe more than they own. The risk factors chapter spells out a serious problem. BGHL's business needs a ton of money to invest, and there is no guarantee they can get that funding on good terms. And in stark terms, they admit their financial condition raises substantial doubt about their ability to continue as a going concern, meaning they might go out of business. Essentially, your investment could be lost entirely. When they talk about fair value measurements, they're using complex models like the Black-Scholes option, pricing model for things like contingent liabilities. This shows they are dealing with financial instruments that are hard to value and carry significant risk. The ongoing dispute with Ghana over those mining leases is a huge issue. They've served a notice of arbitration to begin international proceedings. This is a long and uncertain legal battle. Looking at the condensed consolidated balance sheets as of the 30th of June 2025, their total assets are about $33.8 million. And their total liabilities are a staggering $48.3 million. They are deep in the hole. For the first half of 2025, they lost another $7.8 million. This company is burning through cash fast, and the clock is ticking. They mention a life of mine model assuming an average gold price of $2,006 per ounce. This is a projection, not a guarantee, and gold prices are incredibly volatile. They do mention a website, Blue Gold Minecom. But remember, information on their website is not part of this filing. For us investors, there is a whole section on passive foreign investment company considerations, or FIC rules. This is a really complex tax issue that could lead to significant penalties and additional taxes if they are classified as a PFIC. Anyone investing from the US needs to talk to a tax expert about this. Finally, to wrap it up, the sheer volume of shares being registered for sale, either from warrants or existing shareholders, or their recent financing deals means there is a real risk of significant price drops for the ordinary shares. This filing is essentially a huge flag-waving warning signs about Blue Gold Limited. They've got a complex business structure facing significant legal and operational challenges, a history of losses, and the prospect of further stock sales that could dilute existing shareholders. Their financial situation is shaky, and they even admit there is substantial doubt about their ability to continue as a going concern. That is about as clear a warning as you can get in a corporate filing the ongoing legal battle over the mining. Leases in Ghana is a massive overhang, and if they lose that, their mining assets could be worth zero. The business combination itself seems to have been more of a financial maneuver to get BGHL public, and it appears that BGL already had a complicated web of convertible notes and financing agreements before this deal even closed. It is a lot of moving parts and frankly a lot of risk involved. So what is my take on Blue Gold Limited? It is a high risk high. Reward situation, the potential upside if they can restart those mines and navigate the legal hurdles is there. But the downside is starkly laid out in these very same documents, the amount of money they need to raise and the uncertainties they face. Make this a speculative play at best. I'd say approach with extreme caution and do your own deep dive before even thinking about investing. Alright, that is our breakdown of Blue Gold Limited's latest filing. What is your take on these numbers and what they signal for the company's future? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps. And subscribe for more deep dives. Don't forget to check out the Discord in the description. Thanks for watching. See you next time.